everyone, this episode is sponsored by Fight Energy. Fight is your all-in-one go-to health drink. Fight is not only just an energy booster, it is a mood booster as well. So with your daily dose of vitamins, nootropics, 0 calories, it is your all-in-one health drink. I drink Fight every day. My clients drink it. Someone you probably know drinks it. And you guys, what I'm offering for as we get into 2025, we're doing a discount for 25% off your first order if you type in LYB. Okay, so we'll know that you came from the podcast, and that way we can make sure you get some Fight Energy and some other little goodies thrown in there too. So if you get a chance, we would love to know which team you are. Are you team strawberry? Are you team blueberry? Hey everyone, welcome to the LYB podcast. On today's episode, we have my man Cody Kelly. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Danny. How about you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you here. You said you grew up near here, right?
I did, just actually a couple minutes this way, a few streets over.
Really?
Grew up right here in Charlotte Park.
Okay, that's awesome. So was that, so when did you move, or what was that like?
So I say I grew up just because it's our family home. My grandparents, same house. My grandmother bought this home in the early 60s.
Okay.
We all grew up through it. So for a while, I lived in Pegram for about 7 years, sometime when I was 6 or 12 years old. So I'm born and raised in Nashville.
Okay.
But we always came back when we weren't there anymore and needed a place to stay in between houses. We were always at my grandparents' house, and then in my high school years came and lived with my grandparents up until I moved out on my own.
Okay.
So I always say we're from here.
Okay, I got you. No, I totally get that. And a lot of my guests have been saying that lately. They're like, oh yeah, my grandparents, the house was down the road or whatever. And I'm like, that's so cool. I love that. I definitely feel like this area is making a comeback. There's a lot new things here with Carbon down the road, and then, just all the different shops and stuff. So I really like it because I bought this house about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And so it wasn't it still was coming up. I would say,
It was, and it's been coming out for a long time, and now it's getting to that tipping point where it is actually being more seen as established now.
Yes.
Before, 10 years ago, when I was back here in high school and hanging out in the Nations, it wasn't cool to hang in the Nations.
Yeah.
And it's now it's oh, you live in the Nations.
Right.
Completely different.
Complete flex.
Reality.
Oh yeah. Yep. Everyone. Yeah. It's wild how that changes like that. So tell me, okay. So we actually met, for those who are listening and watching, we met a couple weeks ago at Common Ground. So that was Gunner's Gym. So you guys saw me, lifting and doing stuff there. So you've been a trainer there right? So you started your business and been training. How long has it been?
So this is my third year professionally coaching.
Okay.
And I've been at Common Ground since June.
Okay. So you're the most recent one in there.
Yes, I am.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I couldn't keep up, because Gunner's good about posting about Gunner stuff, you know? And so I had known of Colin, and that was only because another guest on here, Will, knew him. And was like, oh, you should meet Colin sometime. I was like, okay, whatever. Didn't realize. And then I was like, oh, this is where he is. And then I saw Adam, Dirks and everything, him post some stuff. I was like, is he just getting trained there? Is he working out there? What's he doing? So I love that. So it seems like a good group, and I really enjoyed being there. I thought it was so fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's a great group. It's like a party every time, because you know how Gunner is. He's always there for a good time. Colin's the same way.
Yeah.
Adam's definitely he's there for a good time too, a little bit more stoic, more serious, but he's a hoot to be around too,
yes.
right? It's always fun. I've learned so much from him. I met him at the previous gym that I was at.
Okay.
Where I got my teeth cut, a small powerlifting gym.
Okay. What was that?
Southside, if you remember that one.
Southside.
So
Yeah.
we were there for a while, and then when I'm moving to Common Ground, and that was my first gym experience as well, being a trainer.
Oh, okay.
So I actually kind of started off at a smaller gym, didn't go big box style, and then eventually moved into private style like you see now. So I love it. I think it's really cool. I'm now to a point where I'm just doing it full-time coaching, which is great, and I get to view it as I help people for a living, right? I'm showing people how to take care of themselves, how to do it inside and out. I classify myself as a fitness and mindset coach, which is just, we all have fancy terms that we call ourselves, but the reality is I'm just like a trainer at the end of the day, right? I'm writing workouts, I'm writing meal plans. I just want to emphasize the importance of, one, having a strong, capable body that you can physically do anything, right? The fitness aspect. And two, the mindset aspect of having a mind that helps you believe that you can do anything.
Oh, yeah.
Because having both is so important,
they have
right?
To coincide, yes.
Absolutely. Because you only go so far. You can work out in the gym. Yeah, you can start looking good. But if your mindset's not there, you're putting a ceiling on yourself.
For sure.
And
because you're coaching 0 to hero, right?
Yep, it's 0 to hero coaching.
I love that.
And the 3 pillars are about self-reliance, self-empowerment, and being the hero of your own story.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? It means whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah.
I look at life as not there's one way or wrong way to do it. It's what does it mean to you? We all get one chance, if you will, at being who we want to be. And there's no right or wrong answer. but you only get one shot.
Yeah.
So you get to decide how you get to want to live.
I love that. That's amazing. Man, one of the best intros. Like, that was so good. So I want to say this too, because I was telling, people about the experience, going out there and stuff, and how I just felt, I felt so at home and felt like it was like a networking fun. Like, that's my type of vibe. That Saturday, I was on a high for like, I'm gonna keep talking about it.
It was fun. It was great.
Yeah, like it was, because again, you got to understand, like, it wasn't even about like, yes, like Luke and Jim were super cool to me. Like, that was great, right? But then meeting you three guys and like, just being like kind of welcomed in, and not, because I've dealt with a lot of stuff, and I think because you've seen from my story and kind of all my deal, but when it came to, especially when I was first coming up, and even recently, I'm not even gonna say it was like when I was first coming up, like just comments like, oh, like the LYB girl, or like, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of in a negative way. And like, or like, oh, I don't know. I don't even want to mention it, but just stuff like that. Right. And so you never know how things are going to be. So I was like, I'm gonna show up. This sounds like a fun time. Like, we'll see what happens, right?
Right.
And if I need, whatever. And so showing up and him being like, yeah, like, you all should go on the podcast. Like, I went, you did this. And like, it just felt so supportive. And I just felt so at home. But I remember when we were in there and you were starting to tell me a little bit about your journey and about your stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, pause. I need to take a picture with Jen real quick. But like, I want to hear everything you have to say. But I was like, I'm not trying to be rude, but y'all.
That was very important.
But
No,
yeah.
that was very important.
No, but like, literally, I was on this high because I'm like, there's so many machines in here. I don't even know what to do.
There's a lot of fun toys in there.
Yeah, but I did like none of them, by the way. Like, I literally did the one treadmill. I didn't even do the plank thing. I didn't do the hip abduction.
It was sensory overload, and you're like, I'm just going back to default.
No, I literally was like, oh, there's a barbell, Colin, let's row. Like, I was, like, you know what I mean?
Back to the basics.
No, I literally was like, I don't know how to use these toys. So anyway, like at one point there was the jungle gym thing, and Gunner's in there stretching. I was like, I kind of want to climb, but like, I don't think I should climb this. Like, this isn't the time.
Come back next time and try climbing on it.
No, literally. Like, I was like, do I hang upside down? Is that what we can do? But it was just so funny because I'm like, okay, I want to get some movement in, but I want to talk to these people, but I want to do both. So that was just awesome. And then Adam was kind enough to be like, hey, like, what are you doing after this? And I didn't have to meet anybody until a couple of hours later. And so I was like, oh, I mean, and he said something about doing deadlifting. I'm like, I was actually supposed to deadlift today. But, and he's like, do you want to follow us to this warehouse and lift some strongman, or like lift? And I was like, sure, don't know you guys really, but like, let's do it. So I rolled up with, him and Riley, and he said that you guys were coming. I was like, okay, cool. So we get to do that. So do you go like every Saturday or?
When I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I have clients, so I have to miss it.
Okay.
But it's a lot of fun because if you rolled up and you're going into the warehouse and you're like, what is this?
You feel like I should be alarmed, but I was like,
I didn't.
No.
I didn't think you would, by the way.
Oh no! Like I literally, because like I said before we got on air and talking about this, like with Strongman, we went to like so many different places. Like at one point we were in Quantum. You know what I mean? Like before they even had that room back there. Like we were doing stuff. We were at this random place off of I don't even know where, and like super sketch. And I mean, the dungeon at Olympus, like. We did it everywhere we could.
You did where you got to do it, and you have fun while doing it. Like,
100%.
Right? There's no places off limits.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you have some kegs? Cool, we're going to be there to lift Saturday. Or like whatever. That's just what we did. And Matt McQuiston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he came on the podcast
I saw
as well.
that too. I saw some of those clips. It was really cool.
Yeah, I love him. So he was my trainer basically so I started my business 2017. 2018, I was like, I need help. Like I'm trying to work out, but I also am, training these clients. I don't know how to have a balance. I'm driving from Murfreesboro, going to Franklin every day. Like it was very challenging. And I remember doing the National Fit Games and I did it, got second. And I was like, I could have won, And I saw him being supportive of a girl there that I knew of. And I was like, I'm going to reach out to him. Just for sole fact. I think I maybe said a couple words, but it was just because of his kindness to her and that support. And I was there alone. And I was just like, like, okay, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it was like, man, it would be cool to have someone like that. So I have so much admiration for trainers that have trainers and that, and that people and like men like you guys who seem to be so encapsulated in the idea of wanting to have a healthy mind, spirit, the holistic approach versus a stereotypical male trainer that, you know what I mean?
No, I totally get it.
And back then in 2018, whatever, like I had gone to all these classes and tried to find someone to help me just so that I could be a better entrepreneur and I could work, you know, and feel my best. And I just never found that. So it's so rare. So when I got to work out with you guys, I'm like, wow, people not yelling at me, being like, lift heavier, like go hurt yourself. You know, and it's like, go for broke. Y'all were just like, yeah, like super positive, and we were lifting and it was professional, and like, I loved it.
See, I think that's how it should be. Like, it should be fun, right? Have fun,
Yeah.
boosting people up. Like, we're not trying to break anybody down. Like, we have research that even showcases, like in leadership, like principles, how when you build people up, you get further along, get more out of people than when we're like essentially like, you know, kick them when they're down, or just trying to beat them down, say, work harder, do this. It doesn't work. We know that. We've seen that. So, and it's just being around the right people.
Yes.
Like-minded individuals. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you're in a group of smokers, if they're a 4th, you're the 5th. Same thing with how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Are you around negative people? Chances are you might start thinking a little bit negative too.
100%.
And I think that you're always, like as Gunnar talked about on the podcast with you, you're always selling energy, right? You only have so much energy in a day. How are you giving away? Is it self-internalizing? Are you destroying yourself internally? Or are you giving it away? And are you loving yourself and giving it to a point to where you're actually believing that you can do things and giving yourself more positive reinforcement to go out there and be like a friend to yourself, if you will.
Oh, for sure.
Because most people, if I went and talked to you how I would talk to myself, you wouldn't want to be my friend. And that's the standard.
Right.
So if you flip that, how much more could you perform in that regard?
Oh, I love that. Yes, 100%. And it's so true. And that's why like y'all, it's something that was special. I definitely will talk to Adam about this too, but like going in there, like the fact that I had so much self-control and did not go pick up some sandbags and just go for broke. You know what I mean though? Like, cause again, I just came from this super like crazy place, you know, it was so much fun. And I was on this high of like, I'm invincible. I'm back in strongman times. We're circling back to 2019. And I was like, calm down. I said, you came to deadlift. You're going to deadlift. That's it. Don't do it. Like, and I even could have gone for more. And I was like, I'm good. And I was like, I didn't have to prove anything to anybody there, but I also was like, I'm enough just right in this. Like this was, you know what I mean? Cause I feel like a lot of times when I was coming up and stuff, like I always was like, I got to do more. I got to do more. I got to do more. And just being in a state of like with my health and just everything and being like be more efficient with what you're doing versus adding on. You know what I mean? And so I was like, got this awesome deadlift. I felt good. I didn't get hurt afterwards. Like, that was great. Got to have great conversations with your wife, you know, and see them deadlift. And that was cool too.
Yes, that was the first time really going after it. I'm like, damn, go get it, baby. I was so proud. Like, and I'm like, you want to warm up at first? Like, no, I got it. And she like ripped it. I'm like, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's right.
It was awesome.
And see, I think it's so cool that you, like you're talking about how you're like, I don't feel like I need to go more or go heavier. Like you had that urge, but you didn't. And if you wanted to, like no one would have said anything.
Oh, right.
And people have been supportive, right?
Yeah.
And it was that point to yourself, like, I don't have anything to prove to anybody but myself.
Yeah.
And that's where you're like, egos can get in the way.
Right.
And I've always been guilty of saying my pride is my deadliest weapon. It's probably gonna get me killed one day. But that's just like an ego thing too, right? And it's only because like if you think that you're trying to do on your own, that's showcasing it, or like I have to prove a point.
Yeah.
You're really making it worse for yourself. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
For sure.
And I've made that mistake 1,000 times.
Oh, we all have, yeah.
I remember when I was 18 years old, my mom asked me and said, if someone hands you a book of all their experiences and failures, would you read it? And I said, nope, I want to learn everything on my own. And I meant that, and I learned it, and I learned the hard way for many things. And some things I wish I could go back and read that book, take a play out of it. And some I might know how the story played out. But if you can always learn something from anybody, and you can always learn what it is to do or what not to do. And I think the biggest thing that if we can learn is what you did for yourself, which is cool. Yeah. If you learn to let your ego not get in the way, you can get anything you want in life. And that's
100%.
such a big, like, another limiting belief that we put on ourselves too with that.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say real quick that one of my favorite phrases is a wise man learns from others' mistakes, a fool learns from his own.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
There is something to be said for experience, 100%, and that attitude of like, no, I want to go through it, and I want to do it. Like, there's something to be said for that. It needs to be balanced out.
Right.
But generally speaking, I've always thought about that, and like, you know, there's something valuable about just being like, oh, don't do that. Okay, cool, I won't.
Right,
right.
It's like,
so
it's like if you don't have to learn unnecessarily, don't, because that's just wasted time. And I've learned as I've gotten older, just time's the most valuable commodity, and you can't get it back.
Yeah.
So you're always investing it.
Right. So tell me, because I got to meet Sully, right? It's her name. Yeah, super
Yes.
cool. So,
Yeah, she's awesome.
like, how did you guys meet?
So we met at Gold's Gym in Bellevue.
Okay, I love
So
a gym
it's always in
story.
the gym.
Okay, yeah.
Like it's she was training there for a while. She actually used to work there, and I trained there. Had no idea.
Okay.
Just that person wasn't unlocked in my world yet, evidently. So we just never crossed paths. And then I was training with a mutual friend, and she asked to get introduced. And we, just introduced briefly. And after that, wound up following each other on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I would follow her, and I'd be like, "Hey, are you at the gym yet?" And I wouldn't know at the time that, people could look. You could see who watched your stories, and she'd post that she's at the gym.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, "Are you at the gym?" And she'd be like, "Yeah." And I'm thinking that, oh yeah, she has no idea. Like, no, she already know that I saw her story. Like being silly. And I'm thinking I'm being clever, but I'm not.
I love that so much.
So, and it kind of went on like that for a couple months.
Okay.
And also at that time, I got out of a pretty bad previous relationship.
Okay.
And then at that time I spent like a year and a half just working on myself, getting back in the gym, and just really got back into school. And then when we met, I was pretty closed off to dating, and finally a couple of friends at the time pushed me just try it. So I asked her out on a date, and then we kind of been inseparable ever since. Wound up moving together in with 2 months.
Oh, wow.
I had a big flood at my apartment that crashed, and then finally we're like, all right, we'll just move in with you. And then just got out of there, and just since then just prefer to spend every day with each other than not with each other.
Yeah.
She's my best friend. And again, we've just been living the lifestyle, and everyone goes through peaks and valleys in life where we're on it 100% or not. But it's always something that's been an anchor. It's been a part of who we are.
Right.
And it's not something that it's more of a, when are we going to do it? Not if we're going to do it type situation.
Yes. Okay. I love that. So you guys got together how long ago?
2018.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we've been together married for almost 5 years and together for 7. We got married and together on the same day we got together. So April 22nd.
Okay. Very cool. So, I love
I
that.
almost said that. I was like, wait, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah. So she's been with you. So before you had your business, so you were just training at a private gym at the time, and
yeah. So before, actually, I wasn't doing training at all. So before I did coaching, I just did this for a long time. I loved it.
Yeah.
Trained a couple of friends and family for fun. Wrote some meal plans. My favorite client that I trained to this day is still my granddad.
Aww.
Just because when we increase his bench press by 100 pounds, and for a man who's 75, 76 at the time,
that's awesome.
He was pumped, right?
Yeah,
This was great. And before that, I did retail general management for forever. I worked at a place called Party City, if you ever heard of it.
Oh my gosh.
So they just went bankrupt. And that was my first job when I was 15.
Okay.
Going on 16. Got into leadership when I was 18, management.
Okay.
And got my first store at the one that was right over here, actually. I ran that one for about 7 years.
Yeah, okay.
And at that time, that's what taught me about leadership, coaching, people development. Okay, how do you inspire people? How do you lead people? How do you get people to follow a plan, to do things that they may not want to do?
Yeah.
How do you rein people in, follow directive? And I did that for a long time. And at the same time, I still lived the lifestyle, went to the gym, learned about it, what I could.
So regimen, routine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I got to learn about business. It wasn't like a corporate store, it was a franchise. A man and wife owned it. So I got to learn on essentially their dime how to run a multi-million-dollar business.
That's awesome.
What's the best way to do it? And then from there, I moved into staffing, recruiting, which is also another form of leadership, which is just now I have to lead people that aren't my employees.
Yeah.
And I have to make sure that I am still coaching you, but not getting onto you.
Yeah.
And I have to ensure you're wanting to get a permanent position somewhere. How can you get this?
Yeah.
Or helping them make sure they stay on task or whatever it may be. And then from there, moved into corporate account management, where I learned how to do remote management for teams, recruiters, how to facilitate plans at larger scales, worked with people in different time zones, even different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And then I did this full-time coaching, and kind of all that set me up. I look at it as more of this gave me the experience to do this.
For sure.
To do this now. And I really do love what I do. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When I'm training people, I look at it as we're just hanging out for an hour, we're chatting, we're bullshitting.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just making you do hard stuff.
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
And my approach is very more I've been told it's very empathetic approach.
Yeah.
And
I felt that from just meeting you and kind of how you're explaining yourself and whatever. It's definitely different. And I think it's so good to have all of you on the podcast for people to see the differences and to understand, because I think so many times, especially with male trainers, they're kind of lumped into a box, right? And because there are so many really bad ones and doing bad things and whatever.
I've
and
heard
like
some stories.
And
Yes.
and then there's like, and the same thing goes for females of like being inexperienced or whatever, so there's different stereotypes, right? And so it's nice to see the different drive and the different passion and like the why behind what you're doing. So when you got out of high school, instead of going to college, you went into the management role, or you were working at Party City?
So I was working at Party City in high school.
Okay.
Right. And I was, ever since I was 8 years old, I was like, I want to work, I want to go to college.
Okay.
And my grandparents at the time, like I was raised by a single mother of 2 kids.
Okay.
Divorced a few times, moved around a lot.
Okay.
So they were very, get an education. We don't want.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was very like, I saw a path. I was like, I want to work. And at the time, I thought I was going to play in a band, play music, play guitar for forever.
Okay.
So played that for over 10 years and decided to go the working path instead. Okay. I was going to Nashville State at the time, just getting like a audio engineering degree.
Okay.
And wound up dropping out to pursue getting a store, which worked out.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I made that decision. But I did eventually go back to get a degree in business.
Okay, cool.
And I went when I was, again, working full time.
At Nashville State, you went back? Okay.
I did,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
And there was a study from a long, long time ago my grandmother read me that was, there's a percentile of people that go and get an associate's degree who know more about what they want in life than those who go to a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
And I waited for a few years, decided like, all right, I'll probably do business for most of my life.
Yeah.
Went back, got the piece of paper that said I knew what I was doing, which
Nice.
She used to always say that. She said, because grew up very harsh around here as well.
Okay.
Came from nothing. And she used to come in and always saw people that had degrees come in making way more money than her.
Okay.
And she always said, I used to wish I had that piece of paper that would give me way more money and said that I knew what the hell I was doing all these years.
Right.
As working from experience versus college educated.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that, I also say there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
What path is for you? It's
sure.
a choice on a dial. But yeah, went back for that, got that degree, which I use it to this day.
Yeah.
I'm actually on the board now at Nashville State for the business program, which is
Love
just like
that.
a small way to give back. And for those of you who are listening who don't know, you can there's a program in Tennessee called the Tennessee Reconnect for adults.
Okay.
You can go back and get 2 years free at any community college.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that way that as a start, if you want to consider going for higher education, it's a easier barrier to entry.
I love that. Yeah.
And
That's
so,
awesome.
And so even like for someone who wants to be considered a trainer can go into exercise science or healthcare,
Yeah.
or my sister, she's considering going into nursing and starting there. It's a great
Okay,
way
cool.
to try it before committing.
So you have 2 siblings, you said?
I just want a sister.
Oh, sister. Okay. Is she younger?
She's older. Yeah.
she's
So
older?
she's
Okay.
33.
Okay. Gotcha. And you're how old?
I am 30. So I just turned
Okay.
30 this year. So I'm really starting to feel it now.
Yeah. How was that for you?
There was definitely like a small midlife crisis, I would say.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was feeling
you
it.
mean quarter life. Why are you saying midlife?
We
Come
got
on
about
now.
70 more years,
Yeah.
say 100.
Exactly. So, no, because I just turned 31 this past July, and so I just remember with like the 30, that's sitting here being like, and yeah.
30
So it's like
You'll be fine. Don't worry. It's not too bad.
Yeah, and it's just an interesting, like I said, it's just an interesting moment of like, man, like it feels like such a jump. But it's not really. But it feels like it's like
Mentally as jumps, why they call it over the hill, because it feels like, oh my gosh, you're over this giant thing finally.
Well, and so that's why I want to ask you too. So, okay, so 30. So you've been married. So how old were you when you got married?
I was 25 when I got married.
Okay, how was that like for you? Like in terms of being like younger, getting married. Like,
I was always one of those people that I think just because growing up saw like a bunch of different boyfriends come through, and I was very like, I didn't care about the whole like dating, going out and doing one night stands. Like maybe I could have been fun, but I was more committed to like finding that one, if you will. And that was more of my focus, like Ted from How I Met Your Mother.
I love it. Yes.
Like that was,
yes,
that's kind of
I
like.
was just thinking, I love How I Met Your
So,
Mother. That's hilarious.
and she used to love that show,
Yeah.
same thing. And I don't know, that was just more my style. Like I knew that the one woman to get me further along than like the multiple women. Not saying that you can't have fun. You have to try date, see people who you are to figure out what type of woman that you want. And I've only been like 3 serious relationships in my whole life, and she was the last one.
Oh wow!
So
I love that. That's so awesome.
It is, and it worked out. And I'm very happy with my choice of being married early on.
Yeah.
And she's actually older than me, so she's 33.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so I love that.
A little bit older, yeah. So she knew more about what she wanted in life too. And by the time that I met her, she was in a very bad relationship where a previous guy, like, there's a whole incident she may or may not told you about. Like he was a stalker, went in her closet, almost like threatened to kill her. Whole big ordeal. So like by that time we met, we were both to a point of like we were ready.
Yeah, you're like absolutely done. Like no nonsense. Like oh my
we're
gosh.
like found a person, we're happy.
Yeah. So do you feel like because I always like to ask this. I'm like it's like my favorite stuff to talk about. But so when you, like, from the male perspective, like when you saw her like in the gym, stuff like that, like, was it like, did you kind of like know you're like, man, like there's something cool about her? Or was it like, did it take a couple times for y'all spend time together? Like, what was that like for you? I'm curious.
So I was very closed off to dating at the time.
Okay.
Like I was super closed off. Like I was focused on myself. Like I was doing my thing. So it took a little bit for that idea to warm up.
Okay.
So like I even saw a sidekick when I went to a trip in Gatlinburg just to be like, and she's like, because I just find that stuff so fascinating.
Yeah.
And she was doing it. And she's like,
We just had she's a medium who just came on.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't tell anything about your love department. I'm like, yeah. Sounds about right.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's closed.
And it was because the past relationship was just so traumatic. Like there was just so much stuff that happened.
I think it was more as I was getting happy with being who I was at that time. I was happy being alone, happy being myself. I'm like, hey, things are going great.
Well, see, so I have a lot of clients that we talk about this all the time because a lot of them are like high-powered entrepreneurs or like lawyers or whatever, but like single, and they're just like, I'm really content. Like they're like, I mean, life is good. I'm making the money. I got the stuff. I got whatever, and they're like, and so I do feel like it's like that yearning of like they want it, right? And like, and I can speak for myself, like would love to date with the intention to marry, right?
Yes.
And so for me, it's like I'm finally ready now after my like stuff that had happened, and it's just one of those things of like but I do look at it too of like I'm very content. Also, like I'm like if nothing ever changed, like we're good. But it is that that pull, right? Because you get so into your lifestyle and you're like, man, I love this. Like I'm rocking it. But you're like, man, I really
think the
want to share
assumption
it.
is that they're gonna like in your case and with what you're talking about, it's like if things are good, if I bring someone else in, it's gonna change.
Well,
like,
yeah, because
the assumption is that it's gonna be a negative thing, but all they do is add if it's the right person.
Well, no, for example, though, that was like my life, I remember literally, I'll say this, I sponsored the National Fit Games. So the first thing I told you about that I went to, but anyway, I sponsored that event. And I remember I had a date that night and like I was running around sports bra, booty shorts, living life, Danny D, what's good, flipping tires, whatever. And just was so happy. And I went on a date with someone that, I mean, inevitably changed my life and not in a good way. And so it's almost that whole thing of like, but I went because like friends like kind of like influenced, like you deserve this, like you should go, and it's not their fault. They didn't know he was whatever, but it was just that whole thing of like, man, that letting that person even in just for the date, right, or whatever, like. It really did change the course, I feel like, of my life. And I had a pretty good grounding of everything. And I stuck to stuff. I didn't let business slip. I still kept growing. I still kept, going on the news when like other things were like going really badly. Right. You know what I mean? Like still kept fighting. But it is that scary feeling of like, if you know what I mean?
It is, because it's a time investment too that you don't
Right.
get back. And that's the scary part too, is the biggest thing is like, I don't want to waste time with the wrong person.
Yeah.
And you never know what the right person is going to be until you start investing that time into it. So it is scary, and change is scary. Yeah. But as the late Jim Brown said, is like, be open to every human experience, because you never know which one might just turn it on.
I love that.
And that also means that you have to be vulnerable. And that's just scary too.
Yeah.
And that's the scariest thing that we can do as humans, is be who we are, be authentically us, and then also be vulnerable about things and feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
And
see, I love that. I love that.
I was just gonna say, if like with what you went through, for example, that was you got to know that was not a typical, like that was just like, for that to have been your first serious relationship is horrible.
There's a big backstory to that.
Horrible, yeah.
Cody, we don't have enough time.
Yeah, but my point in
Can't
saying
the
that,
rest of
though,
the
is
evening.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I watched a podcast one time, or I watched a clip, but of a guy who's a divorce lawyer actually, and he goes on podcast and he talks about love, which is weird from a divorce lawyer, you wouldn't think. So it's kind of interesting, and he says some very profound things. But he was talking about that love takes courage. It's a courageous pursuit, and the reason why is because, like, when you've gone through what you've gone through, of course, you have to be courageous to get back into that. I mean, look how it worked out for you. You know what I mean? And the same thing for you or anybody else. So a lot of times you're like, you waste time once or twice, and then you shut it down. You're like, I'm not going to do that anymore. But when you eventually did get back into it, that took courage, right? It's like that feeling is it makes sense.
I'm feeling
point.
real courageous. Like I'm ready.
Yeah,
like,
that feeling makes sense.
I'm in it, I just, need others to be in it. But no, in short, the person that I was with ended up being married, had a drug addiction. There's just a lot of things that he hid from a lot of people that
at that point, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. And so.
Oh, that's a great first one.
Right. So because again, going out through high school and everything, like I had people who like kind of, I would date a little bit, but I was just like, I have too much to do. I was like, oh, sometimes. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to the LYB podcast. If you haven't yet, please go check out the How to Love Your Body Throughout book on Amazon. This is my very first book. I am so proud of it. It is a short read. You can also get it on Kindle. So it's not a huge commitment, but it is something of a self-help book. So if you're someone who is looking for support, you're looking for tools, you're looking for just a way to feel better during this holiday season and into the new year, I definitely recommend it. I put my heart and soul into this, and this is just the start. So if you haven't yet, go on Amazon and get your first copy.
Hey everyone, my name is Cody Kelly. You can find me on my Instagram at 0 to Hero Coaching, or you can find me on my website at 0toherocoaching.com.
To talk to you on the phone. I have dance, I have homework, I was so driven even from a young age that I was going to achieve my dreams and no one's going to stop me. And so those people never really like aided in like supporting or whatever. So, but I also didn't really give them the chance. And then like even in college, I was still driven. I was like, I got to figure this out, and got into group fitness, personal training, and fell in love with that. And I was like, whatever. So they're really, and then lived in Vermont. So like there was never really a time for me to like even be open. There's no men in Vermont, by the way, if anybody wants to know, if you all live there at that resort. No, literally hey, the maple syrup was good though. I'll tell you this funny story real quick. When I was at that resort, I ate what they ate because I was an intern, so I got to live there for free, do the deal, whatever, the meals. And it was the first time I'd had almond butter because I was like trying to figure out my food and all my stuff, whatever. And anyway, and I remember eating like, I'm talking y'all, like crunchy almond butter. I mean, like way too much every day. And I didn't weigh myself when I was there, but I was like, man, I'm starting to like, I don't really feel my best. And one day I'm talking to the chef, the only male on the premise, and he was like, yeah, Danny, I mean, it's good. We put maple syrup in it. And I was like, yeah. So I'm thinking I'm eating this like healthy, my little, whatever, 3 sandwiches a day, whatever. No, it was straight up just maple syrup. And it was, anyway.
That is really good.
No, literally. Yeah,
right? It's
exactly.
Like, I can't believe it's so healthy.
Bruh, but that's like I said, that mind-body connection. So that's why I understand when my clients talk to me about stuff, and it's, I don't look at them like, how could you not know that? I'm like, I was that person. Like, I get it because I was raised, I was born in Murfreesboro. And so for me, like, I danced, and movement's always been a part of my journey. But the food wasn't. And so that's where like now I do like food accountability coaching with my clients, so that to help them to be like, hey, you can swap this for this, or hey, let's do this, like have that real time with them. But because I wish I would have had someone help me, so to take the stress away, the fear away. I'm going out with friends. What should I eat? I don't know. Well, should I get this or the salad? Right? No, don't get the salad. Don't get the salad. There's
what I mean? Things you get beside the salad.
Exactly. Like, and it's probably not even healthy, honestly, by the time everything's on it. So like, just changing those mindset things or whatever. But anyway, all that to say that when I got to, when it was, after Vermont, whenever I came back to Franklin, I mean, I still was just training and whatever. And there's a couple things that happened, and just not good experiences either in terms of guys and stuff. But so I really was like, I'm in a great place with my life. I feel good in my body. Let's do it. And so not to scare people who are like listening or watching or whatever, that, but mine was a very unique, like Logan said, situation that, like I said, that many people were, fooled. It wasn't just me. It wasn't like, oh, only Danny doesn't know. Like, it was a lot of people, the whole community. And so anyway, but all that to say, I learned so much from it, and I'm sure you could take away some things from your previous and stuff, like,
of course.
And you grow from that too. So you realize that, oh, that feeling I had in my stomach, that was like, something's telling me that it's not right. It's probably not right. Like, and so being able to trust that and have discernment with it and understand, all of that. So all that to say, I love that you found, the person for you. And that's awesome. She was so sweet, so lovely. Like, I love getting to meet her at the workout and everything. And so I wanted to ask, what does she do for work?
So right now she does some sales for a transportation company.
Okay.
But she also, the biggest thing that we're focused on now is like she started her own candle line.
Okay.
So it's called Lux Candle Co. So it's like luxury candles, paraben free, organic, no like chemicals, parabens, if that's the correct term.
Yeah.
So very, very clean, like you burn in a nursery or around pets
Oh,
if you
nice.
wanted to.
Okay.
So that's her big thing right now that she's trying to get going, which I'm super proud of her for starting that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, so with that, like, okay, I was gonna ask you too. Before you guys got together, did you live with your grandparents, or was it with your mom, or?
I did. So I lived with my grandparents in the
Okay.
last years of high school, then moved out on my own. So
Okay.
I've been on my own for like 3 months out of high school.
Oh,
if that.
okay,
So I've
okay.
always been on
Gotcha.
ever since.
Okay. And then with your, grandparents stuff, I know you had told me a little bit, but I didn't look too into the story because I wanted you to tell me here. But what was I think you had said that your grandmother was probably your most inspirational person, like the person you looked up to the most, or what was that?
She was. That was true. She's like one of the most like strongest women I knew in my life. And I know
Okay.
that love your body is really about women empowerment too.
Yeah.
I think that's great for this story, if you will.
Yeah.
And she grew up. She was like raised in like a time where back then like she grew up and watched her dad beat her mom. Right. My great grandmother beat all the time. Got to a point to where she had to stand up for her. And she even grabbed like a butcher knife and like swung it at like my great grandfather, if you will. That's the correct term. Yes.
Oh, man, yeah.
Like trying to defend her, like grew up, always had to make decisions, grew up very early. She wound up getting pregnant at 18, got married early. And from my understanding, like the husband at some point wasn't too great either. He left around when my mom was 14, aunt was 11, and left her, never looked back, no child support, no nothing. So she had to grind her way up.
Yeah.
And it was hearing the stories about how like she didn't let it define her.
Yeah.
She just said, okay, this is what I got to do. And she never complained. And when like with my mom, like growing up, raised by a single mother, 2 kids, my dad was he grew up, he was a like alcoholic, abused drugs. So he was not in the picture.
Okay.
And my sister's dad just wasn't in the picture either. So we are always like behind, struggled. And they were always our support system. And they were always there for us, always helped. And just, again, never complained. And it's
Yeah.
always just like how she always grew up from nothing, didn't have college education,
Yeah.
and worked her way up from a bank teller down to the credit department at a bank downtown at the time called First American, now called Regions.
Yeah.
So she worked her way up, very successful businesswoman.
Awesome.
And I used to realize that my world used to be very small growing up, right? I didn't have a whole lot of exposure, didn't travel too much. Like my wife came from a great family. She went to Clemson and she traveled a lot, like very, very educated,
Yeah.
very rounded. I was still a little rough around the edges. I'm
okay.
still like trying to figure out, oh, this is like this. Oh, we do this like this. Like I was still trying to get I wasn't behind, but I was trying to get caught up, if you will,
Yeah.
to some like understanding or self-awareness of how things work.
Right. Yeah.
So now it's just seeing how you don't have to let your past define you. And Zero to Hero coaching is about you always have the power of choice.
Yeah.
You can always do what you want. You can change who you are.
Yeah.
Alan Watts' favorite quote, you are not obligated to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. Yes. And just seeing that growing up, I heard all these stories like they were ingrained into my skull about the struggles growing up. So to me, it was very inspiring to see that even coming from nothing, you still do that. Like even today, seeing how I can take some of the things that she taught me, like a quote that she read to me like over and over again from a magazine about dreaming, take your dreams, then go do it.
Yeah.
And through hard times, I still think about that, think about the things.
I love
Walk with your shoulders back, stand upright, always make sure you have nice clothes. And I used to just be like, whatever. But now I do it all the time because of how important it is.
Right.
Or why is it so important to always have confidence in every situation, no matter what you do? She
Right.
her fuse was always burnt, so she was always just set off all the time.
Yeah.
However, mine, a little bit different. I got the anxiety fuse.
Okay.
Mine was a completely different one.
Yeah.
So I've always been more of a how to be that type of person while still battling or struggling with some mental health issues and it's trying to keep that like normal baseline, if you will. But she was one of my first heroes, very inspiring.
Yeah.
And now it's just alliance with the Zero to Hero mission of no, you don't have to let be where you come from define who you are now.
Right.
You don't have to let the limiting beliefs of yesterday or the thoughts of yesterday hold you to today. Be whoever you want to be.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I guess my question is with that, like, did your mom, do you feel like she had similar values as your grandmother? Or
She was a lot different.
Okay.
Right? So she was always working like jobs that were like secretary,
Okay.
like $15 an hour job in 2006.
Okay.
We're always struggling, always stressed. Environment was always anxious.
Okay, I
It
see.
was very, very tense.
Okay.
So for me, I'm always walking around on eggshells, feeling that same thing. I'm always like, when's the other shoe going to drop?
Oh, okay. I see. So you basically, that was like your environment you were in.
It was for the predominant part for about,
Okay.
for most up until I was 14. You know,
Okay.
living with her, I was like my day to day and what I saw. And I had my granddad who kind of taught me what it was to be like a man.
Yeah.
So, which I'm glad I had him in my life.
For sure.
And like we all have people that, you know, you look around to see like how do they act, what
Mm-hmm.
can we take, and how can we learn from those around us who know more and try to
For sure.
emulate to be successful. And I've always tried to do that and take
Yeah.
little bits and take little lessons. And a lot of it was what's not to talk well, my mother, of course, but
Right.
it was a lot of lessons of I don't want to live this way.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I get that.
It was always struggle. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick that whenever I got married, my mom's parents got divorced. My mom's been divorced twice. Chaotic upbringing, abusive stepfather, whole 9 yards. So I feel you on a lot of that stuff. And the anxiety, for example, same thing, because whenever you're in chaos,
Right.
you're waiting for something to break out at any moment. You develop very sensitive antenna for energy and for the room and these kind of things. So that makes total sense. But I was going to say with the marriage thing, and you were saying that you always thought about doing it that way. You wanted to date to marry, like you were saying.
I would
And-
say, yes.
Yeah, good. Me and her, she had a somewhat similar situation too. Her mom's divorced, blah, blah, blah. Long story short is that the way that I think about it personally, even outside of her, is that I don't want to ever be the reason why my kids had to go through what I went through.
Right.
So that's like the reason why I wanted to marry, and that's the reason why I want to stay married. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to put my kids through that. And it sounds like, given what you grew up with, that it's possible that that's kind of where your mind was on that too.
It is. I was always going to be the opposite. I always
Yeah.
knew like I was always playing the self-comparison game. I was very guilty of it because I always looked around, and I look at it back now. It could have been a lot worse. I was always self-aware.
Right.
I always tell people there's different levels of where you're at in life.
Right.
And there's always one worse than you. There's always one better than you.
Yeah.
But-
No, for sure there is. And that's what the biggest thing I tell my clients and stuff. And I talk about on social media that to me, it's irrelevant, like with the whole comparison thing. Like you can acknowledge that someone looks good or that is this or is that, whatever. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, like you're not that body, you're not that person, you don't have those experiences. Like it's completely different. So it's only a disservice to continue to compare, and your whole thoughts, your whole identity becomes that of why am I not that person? Why don't I have that body? Why don't I have that career? Why don't I have, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it is.
Yeah.
100%. And now being a coach, I have to completely change the way I communicate and how I teach to my clients and
Yeah.
what I say and even what I think to myself. It doesn't mean that those thoughts from when I was 8, 10 years old still come into play.
Right.
But how I handle them now is completely different.
So let me ask you this: like, have you done any therapy or anything?
years of it.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like that, but I never want to assume or whatever. But I love to ask my male clients, because I think that's so important. And I was the person, I'll own it, that I was like, I've handled my stuff, right? So I knew how to do my stuff, and I had come at peace with all of it and everything like that. And was really proud of that. But when it came to someone else being a part of it and kind of rattling my world and everything, I didn't know how to deal with it. So
Yes.
that's what got me into therapy, because I was just like, I can't hold the weight of all of my clients, running a business, growing this brand, doing these things, you know what I mean? Being an influencer, all the things, and his stuff, and then my stuff. Like I needed support.
Absolutely.
But it took that for me to which I should have probably done in therapy before that, and also to have that help, because I had a trainer, right? So to help me with my physical, I should have had a therapist to help me with my mental. I believe in building a community and building those people around you that, you have a chiropractor, you got a massage person on hand, you have, you know what I mean? And so I do think that therapy is the last thing that everyone thinks of, the mindset coaching, all the things, whatever. And I'll even say this, with bodybuilding, for example, every single bodybuilder should have a therapist. You know what I mean?
it's a very mentally taxing, very mentally it can be very mentally unhealthy.
Yeah.
if you let it.
And it's and I even would talk to the girls about that and speak to them. I'm like, you're spending all this money on the suits. And I would speak at these workshops and whatever. I'm like, and the suits and the training and the supplements and the this and the whatever. But you don't have anybody to talk about all this with? You know what I
Right.
mean? like nothing for your mind. And so I was like, I can do mindset coaching, all this, whatever. And literally it was just one of those things where it always baffled me that was not more spoken about. So that's why I love to see men doing therapy now, owning it and being like, this is important. You know what I mean?
I think every single human being should go to therapy.
Yeah.
And I mean that 100% seriously, because it doesn't matter how well you're doing, you don't have a single person in your life that does not care about your reaction to them telling you how it really is. Everybody has a connection to you. Your mom wants everybody has a reason for telling you what they tell you.
Yeah.
If they want what's best for you, a lot of times people will tell you, if they really want what's best for you, a good friend will tell you what you need to hear. But even that, they want what's best for you. The therapist is just a wall that gives unemotional feedback, and nobody has that.
Right.
Nobody has that. And 99% of people need it for just in general, because life is complicated and people die and relationships happen.
Right, and things happen too. And I view it more as doesn't matter, it's there so that way you can elevate, enhance, become a better human being.
Right.
So that way you can coach and develop and being a better person that overall can ideally in turn be more valuable and offer more skills and help more people.
Right.
It's kind of how I look at it. And it's been for a long time use of dealing with old traumas, things like that. But at some point, you can only deal with that for so long. It's up to you to get to a point to decide, I want to let go of this. I want to move on from it.
Yeah.
Even through all the things from growing up being a overweight fat kid, socially awkward, right? Being around being picked on. And it's just I'm grateful for those adversities because they shaped me into who I am now. I'm not upset about them. I'm grateful for them. And that's a big mindset shift too that happens from when you work on your mind for a long time too.
For sure.
Life's happening for you, not at you.
Yes.
And when you can accept that, doesn't mean that you're not going to get anxious all the time or struggle all the time or get mentally drained. Life still happens, but you have that paradigm shift of, okay, I'm in control. I can do this.
Yeah.
And you deserve to have the life that you want. You just have to take action on your part.
Yes.
It requires action on your part. Be the change that you want to see in the world. That's how it happens.
Yes. No, for sure. And it's really important what you said, because I do feel like so many people hold on to those traumas and those things for their entire life. They don't get past it. You know what I mean? And it's just such a disservice, because it's unfortunate those things happened, but you can't let it dictate, you know what I mean? Your whole identity and your whole everything. And what you said too, so you said that you were an overweight kid when growing up. So was that do you feel like it was, again, just, your mom just fed you whatever, so you just ate, or was it because you were nervous or anxiety? What?
I would say that it was just growing up, being in the South, right? It was frozen dinners, things like that, hot dogs for lunches, a lot of processed stuff.
Yeah, ramen noodles.
Yep, fast food, and just what was available at the time was quick, easy.
Yeah.
She worked long hours, came home, here, let's do this. She made hamburger helper, stuff like that. And I did some activity. I wrestled here and there. I did wrestle for a few years, play baseball. I didn't really get into the weights until later, and I was around 17 years old. And then from there, just fell in love ever since.
Yeah.
But other than that, I play time playing video games, a lot of time playing video games. I was that kid. If you were watching a movie and then you saw the smoking mom watching TV, then there's that big kid in the room playing video games. That was me. So,
oh man, okay.
And I did that for a long time, and it was part of me, who I was.
Yeah.
But it's just at some point, it's just okay, get past it. And there's still days I wake up and still see myself mentally as that person. It just snips by, and then you have to shrug it off and move on.
Yeah. And I feel like that we do have, I do feel like that person is always there, but for me, I use it as it keeps me in check. Yes. You know what I mean? Because I'm I don't want to, do this or whatever. And then I'm that's not you. That's not your reality now. That's not, you know what I mean? That is, I like to look at it as your lesser self. You know what I mean? That kind of, I'm trying to fight for my higher self. I'm trying to always fight to be my best, but be better, even better interactions with people, be kinder, just all the things. Right. And kinder to myself. And sometimes that lesser self comes out, but it really is, taking techniques that I've learned over the years, positive affirmations as well. But I believe in the power of of your thoughts and manifestation, right? And obviously God. And so for me, that's been a huge part of my journey. But I used to say all the time, I would say something and literally it would happen. you know?
Yes.
And whether that was good or bad, you know what I mean? And so, and every time we all joke about being in the LYB in my gym or whatever over there, like that when people are like, hey, like, we were talking about this the other day, it happened. Like, I'm so excited. I'm like, the great things happen
Words
in here.
are powerful.
Yes, exactly. But also believing it, right? And really, and I think you've had the same passion like I have with my business. But I mean, coming out the gate, I was like, love your body, get your movement in, fight for what you want. You know what I mean? Like those are my pillars. And I mean, from the get go, and I just genuinely like embodied it, believed it, and was kind of that walking, you know what I mean, kind of billboard for those things. I'm always getting my movement in. I'm always, striving for a goal, whether it's a half marathon, strongman competition, bodybuilding, whatever, right? Fighting for what you want. And then I really just embrace loving myself during that, because I saw everyone else around me, kind of like what you said with your mom, like seeing like the negatives. I saw everyone else hate themselves to be smaller. You know what I mean? To look good naked. That was all the trainers around me would always say, we're trying to get their clients to look good naked or whatever. And I was like, okay, inappropriate. But that's what I'm saying. Like, this is what I was around.
Why is that the one thing?
You know what I mean? And like, that's what I was around. And so that's where it was so upsetting all the time, because I'm like, bruh, it's different than this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much more than this. And it was almost like I was like pleading, you know what I mean? To try to like, to say it, And I was like, look, it's never going to get through to them by yelling. So I'm just going to keep like my head down and keep grinding. And like, eventually they're going to get it. And we've had people sit on this couch literally and be like 7 years later. And they're like, hey, like, I just got it. Like your message, I just understood.
It takes time.
Right.
I was told a phrase lately that I love, which is when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
Hear it 1,000 times, but until you're ready, it doesn't matter.
Well, and same thing too, I think, with like relationships, right? Like, with you and your wife and stuff. It's like, I love that you said you took that time in between, which I think for everyone watching, I'm looking in the camera, like that is very necessary. Okay. That time in between, because like it's just the whole not working on yourself, after that happened, like there's just not enough time. It's kind of like jumping from one job to the next, you didn't take time to reflect. Like, why did you get fired or why did you quit? Like they just jump into the next thing and the next thing. And I feel like that's a societal issue.
It is. We move on very quickly.
100% it is. I told you about I was mentioning earlier, the chaotic upbringing. My mom's mom. Exactly the same way. Like what you described earlier. I knew where you were going with it as soon as you started. I was like, well, that's why the mom is out, because of the grandmother. Like that's what happened. That's who she was raised by. And you were talking about love and stuff earlier, about giving it. You can't give something you don't have. If you've never seen how a mother, like, just from my perspective, like boys who don't grow up with dads don't know how to be a man because they've never seen it.
Yeah.
So, like, how would you know if you've never been taught that?
Right.
But my point in saying that is that we all know people that jump from relationship to relationship, and a lot of times they never break out of that loop.
Right.
They never break out of that loop.
So, what would you say was the like when you talk about like kind of being on pins and needles and stuff, with like whatever, like with the anxiety, like how have you been able to like, I guess more so take a hold of that? Like,
I would say a first part of it too is a big thing with anxiety is we've all heard the phrase action alleviates anxiety. First off, it's if thoughts are swirling in your head, get it down, write it out on paper. Okay, what do we really need to do? What are we stressing out about?
Right.
Most people won't even visually see it. We're visual animals. Let's start being able to see it with our eyes. Then you kind of start writing down, okay, I need to do this, need to do this. I can control this? No? Okay. We're not going to worry about this right now. I want to focus on this. And a lot of it has come from over the years of just working on myself through constantly working through past issues, whatever it may be, accepting my faults. And I'm a big believer in ownership too.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, no matter what, like you're responsible for everything within your life and accept that. Don't cast blame. As soon as you cast away responsibility, that means that you no longer have the authority to make the change.
Right.
But as soon as you say, I'm responsible, I'm accountable, I now give myself back the power to make it happen.
Yeah.
And there's times where you just have to, maybe it's not the right answer that you want to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to push through. But I've learned to realize that at the end of the day, I'm on a floating space rock in the middle of infinite space that's expanding. I might have 100 years to be on this earth.
Yeah.
And the reality is nothing matters. I could go throw an egg at this fence right here. No one's going to say anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that to remember that at the end of the day, nobody cares. And just to do what's going to make me happy, what would make my young self proud.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works. Another time, it really just comes down to just taking a few minutes
Yeah.
and feeling that emotion. I'll do a few moments of silence, like
Yeah.
3 minutes, what I've been taught, and just feel that emotion.
Yeah.
A lot of time it's just from pushing it off. We avoid the hard things of feeling. That's a
Yeah.
whole workout in itself, mental workout, if you will.
Yep.
And like, I'll go lift all weights all day long, but as soon as you're like, let's do feelings, like, no,
Right.
we're not going to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. So, and I think, and if you can do that and work through it, it's like adding fuel to a fire in terms
Yeah.
of your mentality.
Right.
Work through your issues quickly. Move on. Move on. Get into the mindset of saying, I do this now. I do this now. I'm someone that deals with things now. I don't worry about things that are not within my control. Affirmations.
Yes.
That's a big one too. I think for a year before I sold my house, I would go in my office every night and talk positively into my mirror because I just needed that rewiring, reprogramming of my brain. Just because at that point, that's where my mental state was at. I've been very low. I've been super low where I've thought off of myself, kick myself every day, super depressed. And now it's like, how can I make sure people don't feel that way?
Yeah.
That's where the mindset piece comes in.
Right.
I've been to a point where I don't like my body, so I don't want you to feel that way. I've been to a point in my life where I've mentally just couldn't stand myself. I don't want you to feel that way. How can I help you feel that every day you get the choice? You don't like how you are right now? That's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to work on it every day. It's not going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen next week, but every day we get to work on it. You
For
are the
sure.
marble and the sculptor. The only downside is you just can't avoid the one thing, which is sculpting your own marble. That's the one thing that you can't avoid.
Right.
But if you learn to embrace that, and that it's fun to see what you can do, see
For
what your body can
sure.
do, see what you're capable of. And when you learn to get more control of your body, you start getting more control of your mind.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I started really learning too. It's one, just free mental health on the table just by taking care of your body and working out, right?
Yep.
We know that we get endorphins, dopamine, we get myokines, which is antidepressant properties.
Right.
And your body has a funny way of rewarding yourself when you take care of it.
Yes.
When you eat well, you start feeling better. And it's just doing the small things every day. Like, I'm a big believer in, like, yes, you have to do certain principles, rituals. Like
Right.
I do believer in journaling,
Yeah.
meditation when I can, minutes of silence, doing things that are
Right.
for my mental health. I've had to accept that I'm not one of those people, like people that are like super mentally to the point to where they don't need to do those practices.
Right.
I'm not. I have to accept
You
that.
just keep it real about where you're at.
That's me. And that's something that's probably going to be in my life forever, but it helps me stay to a point at a good baseline and improve.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, is that again, it's not about perfection. It's not about that, like, oh, one day when Cody, does this and that, like he won't have these problems or whatever, these issues that he's
And I
working
still
on.
do that, yeah.
And, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's unrealistic and that's not, and so again, I think it's a very hard pill for people to swallow just because of, in the industry that we're in and stuff. It's like to create true change is not only breaking stereotypes, it's not only changing the way that, you look at yourself, wherever, but it's the way that you've been taught to think for so long. It
is.
And it becomes that becomes your reality. And yeah, it's like, it is wild. Like I said, I've been through so many seasons with things and just even with myself, I try to always focus on that nothing is ever permanent. You know what I mean? Like even with my back, like, with the injury I told you about and with my leg being numb, for a couple of years and everything, like with that, because that's why I stopped strongman. And so, I was in pain every day. It was excruciating. It was like when you have a Charlie horse, you know what I mean? How annoying that is. That, but with pain every day. Okay.
Wow.
And
Has it been alleviated since then?
yes. So right now, like I can feel my whole leg, which is, it's a little numb on my calf, but like, yeah, I can feel my whole leg, which is really nice. And so, but that took me literally having to put down, because I kept trying, like after my injury, it was a week later, I was doing 300-pound back squats. Like I was like, we're still in it. I was like, oh, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
I just slap
Work
it. You know what I mean? Like, it'll come back, And, yeah. And the doctors and stuff, when COVID happened and stuff, everyone was like, look, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know, we're not going to put you in surgery. It's not like that. You can deal with the pain or get painkillers or whatever. And I just dealt with the pain, but I walked every day. I did the McGill 3, did that, those exercises. And that was like my job. Like I walked and did those exercises, but like I tried to lift for about a year. And then finally I was like, it was like that January of that next year. And I was like, this might not ever go away. I got to deal with it. So I was like, I'm going to just do these exercises, figure it out. And then literally my entire foot video went viral that like a month and a half later. And people were like, we want to do these appearances. We want things to happen, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like 40 pounds heavier. You know what I mean? I'm out of breath, like talking, but I'm still training clients. I'm still doing all these things, but we just got out through COVID. We did all this stuff, whatever. And I'm like, I don't have it together. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
like there's a lot going on. I'm dealing with grief and loss and, whatever. And anyway, and I just remember being like, we have to overcome this, whether it's mindset or physically or whatever. We got to push forward. You know what I mean? And that was when I was like, okay, so I'm back with body weight squats, body weight this, body weight whatever. Did all, whatever. And then slowly started with kettlebells and then slowly started with the barbell again and like worked my way back up. And that's why like the deadlifting with you guys like the other day like was so special because I just it was like no one knows what was going on in my head at this time. I mean, on the outside you're probably like, oh, there's like this girl coming to work out,
and like 315. We're like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I thought you were doing great.
Yeah, and then like so it's like, and I had done 315 like a couple months back, and so then when I did the 335, I was like, we're good. I've done a PR, and even Matt was like, you haven't done that in a couple of years, right? And I'm like, no. So because I just especially with bodybuilding, you weren't trying to max out all the time anyway. But yeah, so with that, it helped me be able to see that like, okay, with my leg, I'm just going to continue to figure it out. Like I have to, like that was like my ground zero. Like I was like, this is where I'm at. And so all that happening was such a blessing and it pushed me into a different direction. And then it got me to where I was like, okay, I'll start focusing on the food, work with a bodybuilding coach and did that. And then we, got into that and it was good, but then I pushed to the extreme. Yeah. So that led to the autoimmune stuff and everything. But that was again, just like, for me, when you talk about the anxiety stuff, I had never really dealt with anxiety before bodybuilding, but it was because I'm waking up at 3:30 in the morning to then go do my stairs, to then do my full workout, to then train 18 clients in the day, and then to go home. You know what I mean? Like
it started compiling.
It was, yes. And I mean, I would inhale my food. Like I'm talking like 20 seconds. Like I was just so... The goal was train the people, focus, but I was like, I have this goal. I will do a show. Like I am in this because I'm such a competitive like spirit. So anyway, so like all that to say, like going full circle with this, doing that deadlift, like y'all didn't understand that, like me standing up there and not pushing myself to be like 400 or whatever was such a growth moment. Because I was like, man, and I felt so good. And I was like, I just feel strong and capable and like whatever. And that's where like I said, it meant so much to me, and because it really did feel like I went back to 2019 and hadn't got injured and like none of that happened when I was in that moment. You know what I mean? Like how I used to feel and whatever, but with a knowledge that I wish I would have had and then. So it was just, like I said, it was just beautiful. So I love that. And I think that is what fitness is all about. And that is what community is all about, and and finding people that actually can learn from and that have like-minded I would say like-minded beliefs, but you know what I mean, like
absolutely.
And it was awesome. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think it's just I've learned too after the last couple of years, like the fitness community is really cool, right? Yeah. Everyone's really open, super helpful, like willing to teach you anything if you have to ask the right questions. And again, community is everything. Find your tribe, if you will. So that way that you are around those people, you have a support system.
Right.
Because one of the hardest things is feeling like we're alone in this world. And that's what really gets to people. That's when the pressure really builds.
Oh, for sure. I felt more alone that 2 years of bodybuilding that I had ever, and it was very challenging. But that was a lot of like self-isolation and like coming out of that and stuff, So that's why I was like, because with the anxiety, what we were talking about, like it's I never had that before that. So even afterwards, even like with Gunnar being like, come to the gym and stuff, and I'm like, well, who's gonna be there,
Yeah.
And I'm like, before I would have never even cared, or whatever. But I was like, you have to go into this where there might be 30 people or there might be 3 people. Just roll up. And I always tell my clients, I'm like, just show up. You can always leave. You know what I mean? You can walk right out the door. Like if but you have to put yourself in those situations and stuff. And with the whole, like I said, the anxiousness with the leg and the agitation and all the whatever, like, and with the bodybuilding, being so on regimen and stuff, it was a lot to like handle and to feel like, that you could get past it, And I just now, I would say in the past few months working with a hormone specialist and everything, feel like I'm getting to that point where it's like, wow, like this is such a growth that's happened, and it's like so beautiful and so exciting, you know? And so anyway, so it's just like it's finding people who like can accept you at every level and every size and don't have expectations for you and things like that. And so I wanted to ask you this because when we were in there and we were working out, whatever, and I know what everyone else has told me. So, but I want to hear like your perspective. Like when you saw me come in or like whatever, and just like interactions, like, were you like what was your first I guess opinion, or like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, what was your first reaction? Like,
Oh, of you?
but yeah, like, because I'm sure you didn't know who I was or whatever, right? When I got in there. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for subscribing to the Love Your Body podcast on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're listening. I appreciate you so much for sharing these stories, listening, and just, being a part of the DDF community. If you are interested in any challenges I have coming up, the Get Your Movement In Challenge is launching here soon. So stay tuned for that, as well as online programming. Would love to work with you from all over. And you guys, I'm just so blessed and so thankful for this season of time. Please, if you get a chance to share the mission, rate the podcast, whatever you want to do, comment, let us know what you think about it. We would love the support, and we're always looking for sponsors. So if you're someone that's listening right now and you want to get your business out there as well, we'd love to have you as a sponsor. And so let us know at Danny@DannyFitness.com.
Kind of gave like a small like briefing of like, he said like you were going to, like another trainer from the area, Danny will be showing up. So when you came in, I thought you were just like super bubbly, like very like personable, like ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. So like not intimidating.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Look at that. Interesting, right? Interesting.
Do you still get intimidated sometimes?
No, I'm not looking at. No, we talk about this because like different like men and just putting the premise or the main like talking about like you're a confident man, like, and you know what I'm saying, and so that like he didn't see me as intimidating, you know what I'm saying. So it was like I deal with this a lot with just like other men and people being like, oh, it's just because you're intimidating that like that's why like they won't come up, or even like I've dealt with in the Nashville community of people being like jealous or being like very competitive or just like negative, right?
Yeah.
And like just insecure stuff. And so that's where it was like I wanted to know how I felt like that you all perceived was like it was equal, if that makes sense, like in that. And so that was really cool because like I said, it that's not been every experience I've had.
Was that on par with the other people that were there?
Oh yeah, like I mean, and I feel like it was just very like I said, very cool. And Jen said some beautiful words to me at the end, and it was just like it really was special. And like I think for you too, I'll tell you this, like because you grew up, you said overweight and stuff, and for me, it was like I due to like acid reflux and sickness and stuff, and I had put weight on very quickly with some medication and things, and like it just didn't come off. So it kind of changed my makeup of how I looked. So it was more of like then people started noticing like, hey, like maybe you shouldn't be eating that. But it was like everyone else was eating the same things we always ate, but like maybe you shouldn't be. And there was comments with like these like coming in and stuff. So like I dealt with that a lot, and
passive aggressiveness.
Yes, and always kind of being on eggshells in that sense. So again, I feel you when you say about that, because like I genuinely, I couldn't eat in front of anyone without it being a comment. Like I could sit here with like drink this water, and they're like, like, have you had enough water today? Like, is that your only water you've had? Like, you know what I mean? And you're just like, bruh, like,
did you? It's like, really?
But
did that just happen?
But
like,
but see, for me though, like I loved myself, so I was like, I'm still wearing my sports bras, doing whatever, and like I'm like, I'm having a good time, and didn't think that anything was wrong. So
people were intimidated by the energy that you put off,
right? And there's that too, and so it was like it is almost like people couldn't understand how I could be good with it. You know what I mean?
See, and that's when it comes down, and that's a challenge too, because people like. Find who they are, like the size that they're at, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Find the body that you feel the most strongest and most capable in, and rock that.
Yeah.
And be confident in it. And that's very hard for people to do, because confidence is not something that everybody has.
Right.
And when people see it and they don't have it and they don't like it, that's when they're going to be like, well, I don't have it, so why do you have to have it?
Right. Exactly.
I heard the other day, which is I need to look this up because I got to know if it's true or not. But I heard the other day that when a human being is presented with superior intelligence, it triggers the part of their brain that's threat detection. So like you literally they literally look at you like a threat. Yes.
Yeah.
And like I'm sure that you guys have felt that way too before, where you're like, why is this person like you're saying, like, what is the, I don't even get the point of you being like this. Like, because I'm a threat to you.
Right.
Interesting. And then it makes a lot more sense the way that they act. a lot more.
I definitely get that. I feel like I've experienced that from people. And so that's why I was kind of like joking with, I think it was, yeah, I think it was like Adam that I was joking with it about, but I was like, yeah, like the national team is like not like as great as like I would have, you know what I mean? Like hopes and stuff. And again, it's not to bash everyone, but it's just one of those things of like I said, being accepting of where people are at, you know, where they're at in their journeys, like respect, like, you know, and just, and I don't know. So it's versus just looking at someone and being like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. Like they're a trainer, or like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like da-da-da, or whatever. Like, and again, it's always been like I said, a very hard thing to be around. You know what I mean? Because like you said about the people you're around, like, and how you inflate. And I don't like that. Like, I don't like constant negativity. Like, I mean, again, maybe people be like, well, duh, Danny, like no one does. No. You live in it. Like most people live in it and don't even realize that they're in it. Do you see what I mean? So for me, it just hits me and I'm like, I can't. Like, I gotta walk away. Like, me and Louie, like over there, my little doggy and stuff.
You can feel it.
Like, I just want to chill with him.
Well,
like,
and it's also like insulting because you actually want to help people.
Yes.
So whenever like that, for me, why it bothers me so much whenever people treat me that way. Like there's been times where like my sisters will react to me like I'm their father, my stepdad that I was talking about. Well, it's deeply hurtful because I'm not him. I'm not gonna hurt you.
yeah.
You know, but like you're threatened by me and it hurts. Like I'm not, you know, and it's kind of like with the training thing, I always think about every time you talk about that, I think what's so odd about that to me about personal trainers, and it really could be anything, but really personal trainers in particular, actually, is that like you're all in the business of helping people. Like you brought up to begin the show with, you're all in the business of helping people. So if I really want to help people, right, and you're helping people,
period.
what's the problem?
Exactly.
Why does it matter?
What's the problem?
Exactly.
But it's because they don't want to help people. That's not why they're doing it.
Right. But
It's about them. It's
but
about money.
also-
Or it's not about helping people. If they really cared about that, they would have no problem with you.
But also, I think, and man, it's so wild to think about this because, like, even in the beginning, like, people would have me on their podcast and people would like have or talk to me or whatever in group settings and be like, so like, tell us like what this is about. Like, what is this body positivity? Like, what do you think that like people shouldn't work out? And I'm like,
is that what I said?
But literally, but I was like, but do you watch any of my stuff? Yeah. Every day I post something or stories or, you know, whatever of me moving in some way, shape, or form. And that's always been a thing. Even like when I said I was injured, what I do, I walked. I did the 3 exercises. Yeah, like there's always been movement as a presence. So for me, I was like, no, that's wrong, right? And like loving yourself, it was almost like people couldn't understand because they couldn't do both, right? They couldn't understand that you can love yourself while still wanting to work on yourself. You can fight for what you want without being there yet. Like you can like there's so many things that there's like it should go hand in hand, you know what I mean? And like I said too, with a lot of the girls that I talk about in my book that I gave Sully, you know, and that like, you know, in there I talk about how it's such a disservice to yourself to live this life and never fully love yourself. You know what I mean? And never fully accept yourself because you only have this one body. And you can do whatever you want to do to it. You know what I mean? You can make it what you want to make it as long as you fight for it. And I truly believe that. You know what I mean? And you can overcome anything thrown in your way. But so many people are like, when I get to this, when I get to that, and guys, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, and you probably know this too, because like, you know, as you work on your body and you're getting your deadlift up and all these different things, right? Like that. At the end of the day, just because when you made it, quote unquote, doesn't mean everything is amazing or that it's perfect or whatever you've been sold this lie or told.
You're going to wake up feeling the same way, feeling the same thing or worse, because then you have nothing to work towards anymore. That purpose is now gone.
Yes.
And to go back to your point earlier of talking about like people like accepting people doing their own thing or like individuals or like loving your own body, right? That like, I try to look at everybody as like a very humanitarian approach, very empathetic humanitarian approach. Each person has their own individual life that they're trying to live in their own way that they feel is the best way to live it.
Right.
My job is just to enhance more of who you are.
Yes.
How can I bring out more of who you want to be?
Bring it out. Yep.
And whether that is through training, whether it is through you realizing mindset, whatever it may be, just ensuring that I just want to give you the tools, know that I did my best to help you do both. Strong, capable body, which is the big word I've been using with everybody this year. Be capable.
Yes.
And you should want to be capable. Have the capability to do anything that you want.
For sure.
In this physical plane, mental plane, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And just make sure to not let time slip, because
Yeah.
go do main character shit.
Yes.
You only get one
Yes.
life. You really only get one
Character
life.
stuff. I love it. That's awesome.
And it is like, again, it's all these limiting beliefs that keep us stuck, and the anxiety, and like when you were doing bodybuilding, and it's all feeling there that you never had before.
Yeah.
And it's all these emotions that we put on ourselves. It's all self-imposed. It's all internalized.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like words can't do anything that's told to us to make us feel something. We have to feel that.
Yes. Yeah.
So how can we accept that, okay, once again, strong, capable body, strong, capable mind, do whatever we want, be moving. Even if you're doing something, always be moving forward.
Yes.
Right? When we get that destination, we're not going to just wake up the next day and be like, all right, everything's done.
Yeah.
And even anxiety happens with me. Or like, I think the world's going to end at a certain point, but it's not.
Right.
It's still going to move forward.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and I did want to ask you about this. So, because I talked to Colin about it. So Colin trains his wife. Okay. Do you train your wife?
I do.
Okay. How's that?
It goes pretty well. So sometimes there was a point where she wasn't a fan of it, but now like she's on board. So it's and it's just because I guess, well,
What? Wait, what happened? What?
for a while there, like this, I guess it's that husband-wife dynamic. Just didn't want to listen. Then finally one day when she was ready, like, okay, I'm ready to listen. Okay.
Okay.
So, and it's fine now. So like I do trainer, like we have a trainer at Gunner sometimes. We have a gym downstairs that I train her at.
Okay. Like at your house you have?
I live at a complex, apartment complex, but we have like squat racks, machines, dumbbells go up to like 85. So we have a lot of stuff.
Okay. So, but was that her first time going to the strongman gym?
That was her first time being there, yes.
Okay, so I wasn't the only one.
No, that was her first time too.
Okay, well, I wish I would have known that. Like, well, no, really though, because it's like, I mean, I knew it was her first time, like, kind of deadlift and stuff, but I didn't know, like, you know, that was
our first experience there, ever being there. So it was
cool.
But yeah, she's like she's been there for the whole time with like the training, and we've always trained together too.
Right.
But
Because when you met, she was working out, so she was.
So we used to work out together all the time.
Okay, cool.
And then for a while there, just we're doing our own separate thing for a little while. Then it kind of came back. She tried Pilates for a while with that. So yeah, just different ventures, different timelines.
Okay.
Now we're back to training together.
Okay, cool.
Well, I just train her specifically.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I always like to know because it's always so interesting to me, you know, because that is such a, like, I treat working out with someone like going to church with them. You know what I mean? I mean, truly, like, it's a very vulnerable, it's a very, like, there's a lot that could happen. A lot of emotions. You know what I mean? I feel like in terms of like a workout and whatever, because, you know, you never know when stuff's going to hit. I'm sure you've had those moments where you're lifting and like you have this epitome or something takes you back to time or you see a glimpse of something. You're like, whoa. And like, you know, or whatever. It's very personal. It's very, And so even like being able to work out with people and stuff, I mean, for so long because of after the experiences I had, and that's why I get why it's so challenging for people to go into gyms and stuff. It was like, you just get over it. You're just like so annoyed by like everything that happens, you know? So it's like now I'm just in that whole mindset of like, I need those weights. Like I got to get out of, you know, like and I've been like that for a while, but I remember when I first was starting, I was just like, I can't just, no matter if someone comes up to me and says something negative or if they look at me or whatever, it's irrelevant. Like it's irrelevant. Like doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm here to do my workout, get it in and whatever. And so when I work out, you know, with friends and stuff now, it's actually really fun and I'm enjoying it. But when I, in terms of a partner and something like that, like I used to love that. Like I used to love, you know, doing my thing and whatever and working out together. And I don't know. I think that it shows such a cool strength together that you guys have by doing that. And I mean, so some of my clients, I know they want their guys to like be that for them, like they can go work out together, but they usually don't like to, or they see that my girls are stronger than them, you know?
Yeah.
Because they work out and they work with me. But you know what I mean? And it's like, and it or becomes a competitive thing. And that was another thing I had to deal with. I don't know if Sully dealt with that beforehand, but dealing with guys kind of like trying to show out or like lift more than me. And like, you know what I mean though? And especially when I would lift.
That's so funny to me, but it's just
that has got to be the most insecure thing I've ever heard in my life. To try to go to a gym and outlift, like, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but like, why? That is such a weird thing to take value from. To be like, I kicked Danny's ass at the gym today.
But there were times where like dudes that I would talk to would literally be like, oh yeah, well my deadlifts this. I'm like, yeah, it should be, but it should be more than me.
That's right where it needs to be.
Like exactly. Or if I said that, it was just kind of like like immediately disinterested. And I was just like,
why would somebody be like, oh, really?
Yeah, like it was
just like
Right. So it was just like super, I don't know. So just nonsense, you know?
Tough guy talk.
Yeah. And I remember being like, when some of my friends, like some of my, Cody's like, wow, I really love hearing about Danny's love life today. This is great for me.
No, we started talking about like my marriage and stuff like that. So then we went down this rabbit hole over here.
Yeah,
so you're
yeah. But no, it's just like I said, I really, that's why I love like strong men. You know what I mean? Like, because it was one of those things where like I never had to worry about them lifting less than me. You know what I mean? Like it was always like, yep, you got your deal. And I liked for it to be apart enough, if that makes sense, you know, so that it's like we can like work up together, but like then like you go do your thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I really love that because I know what I'm doing. I feel, you know, like I can just follow my program and stuff like that. But what?
I just can't get over somebody.
You can wait, like what?
I can't get over somebody trying to pick you up by flexing on you with their deadlift. That's crazy. That's just so wild.
Yeah,
Like, I just don't like.
And my dad
Yo,
was
she's kinda
5:30.
cute.
You want to go to Chili's after
Yeah,
this?
like, that's what I'm saying. Like, oh yeah, let me,
Chili's.
watch out. No, I'm gonna go talk to her. You go talk to her like, yo, I can deadlift 500. And you're like,
So
the
yeah.
fuck? Who
so-
are you?
Right,
What is
like-
going on right now?
Yeah, so if you know any strongmen, like by all means, feel free to introduce me. But yeah, that aren't insecure about
About the deadlifting numbers.
Yeah, exactly. It always comes back to the deadlift.
That's so
like-
insecure to even say to another guy.
yeah,
And nobody cares.
right,
That's what I'm saying. Nobody cares.
right. And again, it shouldn't be a competition. That's what I like. You know what I mean?
And that's why I try to help people too with this. This is your fitness experience, your fitness journey. This is individual to you. What do you want it to be? How do you want it to look?
Well, that's probably why Sully feels like confident to do that with you. You know what I mean? Like to feel not judged or like not, you know what I mean? Like in a weird space of, is he always critiquing me or am I, you know what I mean? Like,
No, I'm never judging. I've tried to get to a point to where I try to judge as little as possible just because I never know what that person's going through, where they've been. I don't know what's going on. That my exercise looks really weird. I don't know why you're doing that, but it might be a specific reason that you need that on your plan.
Yeah.
I've never seen before, so it's just not my place. But other than that, it works pretty well.
Yeah.
And we've done business before. Like we even had before this, tried to do an RV rental business. Just got one. Tried that just for fun.
how was that?
It was fun. It was fun. Yeah, we still have it
Okay.
on the side, but it's just something that we
Like
just
you
wanted
Airbnb it out or what do you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
just like as it's something to try in business because
Yeah.
fitness is something that I love. This is what I do is my main thing, and I'm gonna do this for a long time.
Yeah.
And before this, I also love business, so it's just something that I think
Yeah.
exciting. It's something different to
I love
learn
that.
about, and we work really well together when it comes to business. And even when I got into this, because about 2 years ago, I was laid off from doing my corporate account management job. And as soon as I told her that, which I already started coaching at the time,
Yeah.
she said, well, I guess it's time to get into a gym. Like she's been supportive from day one. She's
Oh, I
always
love
been
that.
about get into it. Like, all right,
Yeah.
what you got to do. And I'm really glad that I wound up where I was, where I went Adam, then wound up going to Common Ground, meeting Gunner. Like it's
Yeah.
been such a cool experience.
For sure.
Like there've been a wealth of knowledge of seeing how like they operate,
Yeah.
how they interact, like just how they communicate, like how they are with their clients, how they
Yeah.
program, everything. Like Gunner is a walking encyclopedia.
Yeah.
And Adam's like known as one of the best strongman coaches in the world. Just
Yeah.
like such a cool dude, really good friend. It's been a lot of fun
That's
more than
awesome.
anything.
So are you like, so are you basically like right now with your health goals, right? Are you like wanting to do a strongman comp or are you just like, I'm working out to work out? Like what, is there any goals?
I've
like
always
that?
trained as in the bodybuilding aspect.
Okay,
So
okay.
maybe one day that's be my aspect. But I've really started like looking into the strongman, like maybe. I actually picked up a strong woman client.
Oh, nice.
So she's got a show coming up in May.
Love it, yeah.
So I'm gonna help her get there, and she's doing well. Like she could deadlift like 275, like raw,
Yeah.
like starting out. Like so she's in a
She
good
gonna
spot.
compete at the strongman, the Tennessee Strongest Man, like at the expo?
Yep, she
yeah,
is.
Yeah. We'll be there. I'll be doing Move Fit. It's my
Oh,
dance,
nice.
yeah,
So we'll
format.
see you there.
Yes, I've sponsored that for years. But awesome. The expo when Ryan was in charge of it, not the new owners,
Mm-hmm.
that was the one that I flipped the tire at. So that was like that was the Nashville Strongest Woman. Like that was that competition.
Yeah.
So I love the expos. But yeah, so that's awesome. So then what about so in terms of, because as we're like wrapping up and stuff, like, so you might be doing strongman, but you could maybe do bodybuilding. Like
It is. I'm kind of like in the middle, like right now, where my focus has just been coaching and just
Yes.
like I'm just want to put emphasis on that and not worry
Yeah.
about that. But I'm getting to a point now where it's like, which one do I want to do? Because I can
Yeah.
do both. Like I've got some decent strength, decent point to where do I want to slim down or go up? So it's like
Yeah, I mean,
crossroads.
Yeah, I mean, I've done both. So for me, I would say the most fun is going to be
Of
strongman,
course.
100%. The most risk of injury, strongman. So it's double-edged sword there, you know. But I think even just doing one like comp, like it's unlike anything else. You know what I mean? Like, and same thing with bodybuilding. I mean, it's different pride and different rewards. You know what I mean? And like I felt very successful with bodybuilding, but I also felt very successful with strongman. But what me and Matt talked about, what I'm sure me and Adam will also talk about, is like the whole being black and white of like either you lift the weight or you don't. And here's the thing: if you don't lift the weight, like no judgment, everyone keeps moving on, like it's fine, whatever. But it's literally like it's that simple.
Yep. Bodybuilding, however,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
It
it's
is.
it's just a different, thing. And I still felt so successful when I was up there. I mean, I got like 4th place, out of 5 or whatever. And I still felt, and I was like, yeah, but I'm meant to be here. Like I was like, I did everything perfect. I didn't stray off plan. Like I did what I was told to do.
Absolutely.
I didn't miss a workout. I didn't miss a thing. I was like nothing. Like, so there's that pride too, but definitely with strongman. I mean, either way, extreme sports, but they're great, but yeah, I want to know in terms of your like, moving forward and everything. So businesses, like you love that, with your coaching and stuff, are you more wanting to do online or do you want to stick with in person or both?
I do both now.
Okay.
So my plan is to grow both with Zero Coaching, and I do try to view it more as like with what you do, more of a movement instead of just like
Yeah.
me being a trainer or a coach. Like, how can I get people to realize like they do have the power within themselves to be their own hero at the end of the day? Because you can.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you come from, what you've been through, the situations that you've been, adversities that you
Yeah.
face. Today, you have today.
Yeah.
You do not have yesterday.
Right.
And most people walk around still living lives of yesterday or
Yeah.
yesteryears, or freaking out about the future years that they haven't even started living yet.
Yeah.
And if you can learn to focus on today, I just want to ensure that I can help as many people as I can, be able to be as healthy, live as long as they can, live the most authentic lives that they can as well.
For sure.
And I really try to emphasize the importance of the power of choice that there's no right or wrong way to live life.
Yeah.
There are some things that could be questionable,
Right.
morally wrong, or things that I'd advise you to live that can make your life better and more healthy.
Yeah.
And I try to tell my clients that health is like a dial. You control how much you want to turn the intensity up.
Yeah.
Do you want to stay at the McDonald's mac and cheese
Yeah.
dinner forever, or do you want to get to a point where like, all right, we're actually taking care of ourselves, crank it up a little bit to where you still enjoy it some here and there, but you're eating more whole foods now, we're eating a little bit better, and we're starting to take care of ourselves. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. You get to choose.
Yeah.
Just remember, you just can't take it back once you do it.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
that's the biggest thing that I've really tried to enforce to people. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I want to give you the tools to do what you want to
be
do.
a guide, and that's what we're here to do. And so, for everyone listening, like and if they've had a bad experience with a trainer, if you've not, or whatever, I highly encourage you to look at this and really hear us when we say like we're a vessel, like to help you. Like our purpose is to help you,
Absolutely.
and we come from that lens of, like you said it before, and I've said this a million times, I never wanted anyone to have to feel how I felt, because when I was literally posting my selfies and getting no likes and no one cared that I would run for up the hill for the first time and back, you know what I mean? Or that I would run to teach a class and then teach a class and come back. And that was something that was a goal of mine for a couple of years, like, to physically be able to.
Yes.
And it's just like, I still kept doing the same thing I've been doing since 2012, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, so it's like, and it hasn't changed, because the whole purpose was, I want to be my best. I want to be able to, help people to understand that you don't have to do these things that I went through or I did. I learned them already. Like, I've done it for you. You know what I mean?
That's what it is.
Like, let me help you be more efficient and get there quicker, honestly, than having to go through all the ups and downs that I felt like I went through, because I didn't have the support. I didn't have the community. I really felt like I did it on my own. Right. And to just genuinely be like, I'm now giving you this whole community, right? It's just, all you have to do is start. Like, all you have to do is choose to be a part of it,
Make the choice to better yourself. Make the choice of you today.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people, this is an investment into yourself. No one else is going to benefit from you
Right.
lifting the weights, eating better, getting
Yeah.
more sleep. But future you down the road will. So do this for yourself and make sure that you're making young you proud, right? I always try to think, how would that young kid think about now what I do. He probably thinks it's really cool what I do.
Yeah.
Train a lot of people, have a lot of fun, get to meet cool people,
Oh, yeah.
and just lift, have a good time. Like, it's fun. It's fun what I do.
Yeah.
And I used to be super introverted. So the fact that all I'm doing now is just meeting new people and talking to new people is wild to me.
It's huge.
But
yeah.
but that's where the fun is, because you get to learn how people's experiences were, things that they went to, their different perspectives. And that helps you grow as a person too.
For sure.
And like you said, being a vessel for your clients, try to be the same thing. I want to learn the stuff so you don't have to.
Yeah.
I learned the lessons, all these tools, tricks,
Yeah.
so you don't have to. Here's my tool belt. Here's your house. And what we're going to do is figure out the best tools to build your house in the most efficient and effective way possible.
Yes, that's exactly right. I love that analogy. That was great. So I ask everyone that comes on the podcast, and I say, you know, I've done this for my Love Your Body initiative and everything like that, but I want to know what's something that you love about your body.
I would say one thing I love about my body is that I have worked very hard on my back.
Okay.
Ever since, like, I always had, like, a couple times over the years where I've gone through, like, being 100 pounds overweight or let myself go a little bit. Like, after that breakup, the first one, that's when I let myself pretty go from just heavy eating and drinking and fix that. Can never stand just having, like, a weak back, and that's something I've excessively, like, worked on, I would say, for a long time.
Okay. Isn't that so interesting that after relationships, when people, they can just look at it and be like, wow, someone like let themselves, you know, go,
Yeah.
or the not knowing the backstory, you know what I mean? And not knowing the grief and the loss and the, you know, of everything, of it ending, you know? And I always find that to be so, like, that's why it's so great that you said that you look at things through an empathy lens.
Yes.
Because it's not as black and white as, oh, that person's just overweight. It's never usually that, you know, there's something that happened, a traumatic thing. And some people, again, they lose a lot of weight when they go through relationships, right? And not in a good way, you know? And I think that it's very keen and important too, of like, it really is, again, goes back to who you surround yourself with. And so the fact that you have someone that's loving and supporting now, that, you know what I mean? And like you're, you know, I would say like great shape, right? And like, so she's there to be there for you and vice versa. So it's just beautiful, you know?
It's important. And I think I've always said the person you marry is the most important business decision you'll ever make in your life, because that will determine your level of success.
Yeah.
And for me, I always made the joke, like, I wasn't prepared to meet someone like her just because she came from like a very well-off family. And for me, like, there was definitely like a difference dichotomy at first that took me some getting used to mentally.
Okay.
And from there, I would say, like, just my world changed in the amount of time since meeting her, in terms of, like, I talked about early on in the podcast or the episode of being like having a small world or like understanding.
Yeah.
It's changed dramatically. So now it's just more of oh my gosh, Danny, I lost where I was going with that thought. Can we cut that out?
That's okay.
We can cut any of this stuff out? Okay.
No, we're not cutting it out.
That part we
Yeah, you're good. No, I just like I said, I got lost in your words anyway, because it's just
oh yeah, support systems.
yeah, the support system. Yeah.
And that's just my story. Like, I got lucky enough to meet my person early on. Some people takes longer, and I wasn't looking for it, so it happened.
Yeah.
I just knew for a long time, like, I've gone through different friend groups over the years, and it took me a long time to where I eventually found myself around the right people with the right mindsets, with the right mentality of they want to be better, they want to better themselves and develop and constantly improve. To me, it's, I don't want to die and say that God, the creator, whoever it is, hands me a piece of paper saying this is who you could have been. And if I can't hit that and it stayed down here, I never want that to be the case.
Yeah.
And I've done, been made fun of over the years, been called like corporate Cody, or for listening to different educational things, especially like in my early years of my career.
Okay.
Like, I carried around a six-pack everywhere I went for a long time.
Oh, really?
Like, I was 18 when I got one. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, because it had like the supplement compartments and you could separate your meals.
Yeah.
So I've always done that thing. And, I was always around the people that didn't do it. So that makes it a challenge.
Yeah.
I still did it regardless.
Right.
But it's just, again, who you surround yourself matters so much.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Did you ever feel like you didn't fit in?
For a long time, yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Long time, different groups. Like, always felt that slightly bit off.
Yes.
That's where the threat thing from earlier, right? It's hard to get better. It's hard to get out of a place like that whenever everybody around you feels threatened by you. So they just constantly chop at that, right?
Yeah.
You want to go here, but they're like, why don't you just, because hurt people, and misery loves company.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm sure some of the jokes are probably more of a like, oh, I've been told before, like, you'll be the one like to go pretty far, things like that, which is fine. But I'm like, why don't you want to go far too? Why do you not have those big dreams?
Yeah.
Like, I want to get to a point to where I can expand my reach as far as possible over my lifetime, influence as many people. And people, I think, forget that they have the ability to dream big because we've been programmed to dream small
For sure.
and to be safe.
Well, and to settle. You know what I mean? And that's the thing is, I think that I think that people like, and as we're ending out, closing out, but like, I do think that people want to dream big, but also too, I think a lot of it's misguided and misdirected, and they try something that's totally not what they should be doing, if that makes sense. And then they just are like, oh, well, I failed at that, so like I'm done. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, like that maybe wasn't the dream actually. Like there could be some other, you know what I mean?
Right. Sometimes what you thought the dream maybe isn't necessarily the dream. Like I thought I was going to play in a band for forever playing guitar. Turns out that wasn't the dream.
Oh, I thought I was going to dance. I thought I was going to be J-Lo or Missy Elliott's backup dancer. I mean, for
It's
real.
never too late, right?
Hey, come on. No, literally, like that was what I went to. That's why I danced so hard in high school. It's like I got into a dance college. Like didn't end up going there. Went to UTK instead. But it's one of those things where like that was what the goal was.
Yeah.
And I thought I literally remember throwing away all my stuff, being like, never going to dance again. Literally the next year, I went and I danced for a dance company that was happening or whatever. So like I again adapted and overcame. And so that's what it's about. Like dreams, like they can change, right? But it's just like if you just quit, then you'll never know what could happen. So I love this conversation. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, Stan, it's been fun. Thank you so much for inviting me. This has been a blast, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, it really meant a lot just how you treated me, like during that workout and stuff. And like I said, it's if that can help me, right? You just to see that there's other kind and thoughtful trainers and people like that. Like imagine how that's going to help all the people you're trying to help. So it really was special. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Until next time.